Hi, I'm Christan with Edwards Instrument Company. And post-COVID, 2022, we're into 2023 now, and I'm here with Toby Oft.
I'm Toby Oft. I'm principal trombone of the Boston Symphony Orchestra. I teach at NEC and Boston University. But yeah, this has been overdue for a bit. And if you're an honest artist, then your voice will evolve, always trying to stay present. And as that voice evolves, then what worked 3 years ago might not work as well now. And so it's really great to have your ears that I trust and your expertise in the field of acoustics and mouthpieces and trombones to be able to say, like, I need this color, I need this response, I need this sound. Is there any way that we can tweak things to get closer to what I have in my head, which is, as I said, completely different than it was before?
And you have a luxury. It's called, I believe, it's the Decatree?
In the Boston Symphony, we record every concert.
And so I can get feedback from Toby the day after, I believe, of concert, and you can listen back to your performance, and from that data, you can then understand where we need to adjust. And that helps me do my job too, because it's not just, I was thinking that I've been listening and I hear this.
Yeah, there's an accountability with recording yourself. I record a lot of my practice sessions, as you know, but then as well, I have feedback from the BSO recordings, and I have tangible evidence. Think about how we all talk about sound. You know, we're using adjectives like colors, maybe notes that you would taste in coffee or wine, but we're all assuming that we both agree on what those are, right? And so if I record myself in a practice session and I send it to you and I'm like, this is what I'm hearing, you're like, yes, that red note. We actually have evidence of what red means, right? Yeah. I mean, as good as your ears are, and not that my ears are terrible to begin with, but that this conceptual thing would have a consensus between us.
Yes.
It's a wonderful resource to be able to refer to.
Yeah, and it's great. That's really fantastic. So making your trip out here, we needed to, we were working on the mid-low of your instrument, trying to get more, and it's going to sound weird, but we were trying to work on the flow of the instrument, correct?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I mean, most trombone players are trying to find that magic place where you get the most piece of cake, right? You want all the highs, but you don't want to concede any of the lows, right? And frequently you're working with trade-offs, like the biggest sound, but then you have to concede articulation, or like you really easy high register, but then you have to concede your low register. And to try to work to equipment that allows you to have the most of both worlds is a tricky thing, and that's what we've been working on here, because what do we agree that my trombone sounds kind of like a Ferrari in the best and the worst way. So it's the best way that I feel like it's the easiest way to that soloistic shimmer that I need playing principal. But for some of the low stuff, we need a better flow, as you said, and we need like an easier flow, a more comfortable experience in the low register, and we totally got there.
And I think a lot of times we have to be careful as humans when we focus on one aspect of the instrument, we can go too far, and I'm always cautious, and I'm cautious, because I put a setup and I said I may have gone too far, but let's go at this carefully, because I don't want to mess with your product too much, because it's working.
Yeah.
It's obviously working. Through listening, we just know we need small adjustments. And I think we have two different setups now that I think are both viable, which makes me feel better. It's not just one thing. So then one of these things, I have a redundancy so that there's safety.
There is a sound that I have cultivated with your help that we're protective insofar as a brand name of a recognizable Toby Off sound that you hear in the Rochu videos and in the solo recordings that I put out on YouTube, that you've helped to cultivate, procure, and so we're protective of that, and I really appreciate that respect to the history, but as well, like trying to add to it without going too far and make it into something else.
Yes, and a lot of times working on that mid-low register, you get the flow happening, but like we were listening in a recording just the other night, if you get that low register open, sometimes you sacrifice the compression right at the face, and then we will bring the compression in, and then the core of sound can become a little pinched or tight in the mid-upper.
How did you bring the compression in? That's a really great, I think that's fascinating that you touched on that, because we're not talking about upper register or low register. We're talking about like compression on the articulation, which typically, like if you get a trombone that's very free blowing, what sounds wonderful in the low register, you concede clarity in the articulation. You get a woof or a thuh or a fuh, right? And so that was something that we worked on. How did you do that?
Honestly, it was a balancing act between the venturi size and the gap.
Ooh, let's over my head. Let's discuss that. Venturi size.
So it's not one thing, and this is where the teeter-totter. And when we obsess, we generally obsess on one thing, and the problem comes in if it's two or three things. And so when you adjust the flow, and then you adjust the venturi size, and then we were also messing with the third option, which was throat size.
All right, I'm gonna really hold you to the coals here. So venturi, what is a venturi?
Receiver in the lead pipe, everyone has one. Your mouthpiece, that's what it seats against. It's a taper to taper. And if that's a good mate, you should have about 50 thousandths on the shank up. It should just mate solidly. And then you're gonna get good refraction of the energy into the horn from that, first and foremost.
So, okay, this is, when I think about venturi, I think about like the distance between where the mouthpiece comes in. There's like a choke point in the mouthpiece, and then there's another.
That's a throat, which is a venturi.
And then there's another choke point in the lead pipe.
The second venturi.
And that, like, you have to focus that gap between the two.
Correct, but you have the overall length of the mouthpiece, overall length of the taper. You can have on the artist blanks, and I believe on the overall length of the blanks is 3.250. And then you have your engagement, which you prefer, and we've set that in our initial design preference.
Yeah.
But then today, what we were adjusting to get that flow was I went to a deeper engagement so that you got more flow. Because the closer you are from the end of the mouthpiece to that venturi in the lead pipe, the more flow you'll have, even if you have a smaller venturi.
So, and just to bring it back to the punchline, which is clear articulation.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to get.
When you dial in the gap for the person, first and foremost, then the response is going to be fast regardless.
Yeah.
It may be a small sound, it may be a big sound, but it's going to be fast.
Yeah.
That's what you set with the gap.
Well, that's one of my things that I really prefer when I play trombone. I don't want to have to like do 7 Hail Marys and only eat vegan for a week, and that I can trust that Brahms 1 articulation is going to come out with a clear dot at the front.
That's
right?
correct, yeah.
I just think the note, and it comes out with this clear button, right? And that's one of the things I really appreciate about what you've done for me consistently, is that I never have to concede that, like, no matter how big the sound, I never have to concede that clear articulation.
And I always, it's part of my job to figure you out or try and understand your approach and your methodology, which that's what I love about my job, is understanding.
Well,
people.
and that's going to keep you on your toes too.
Yes, and it keeps me honest.
Yeah.
And if I deviate, you let me know pretty quickly.
Well, but I concede as well that I'm sure that like another artist on similar footing to me would come in and maybe not want that, and they're not going to come in and say the way they play is incorrect.
They'll want a different style of development in their sound. Correct. Yeah. And so I'll choose different artists from regions if I don't understand a certain style of playing.
Oh yeah.
Because
to get your descriptors right.
Well, so that I can understand the market in their region, even.
Yeah.
Because certain regions will play differently, and if I'm not doing well in the marketplace selling to that region, I want to understand why. Because I always think of it as a me deficiency or within our equipment. So I just have to understand, we need this for that region.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating to do this, and like there's little things like your mouthpiece was in great shape, the backboard, there was no issues. We had another player where the backboard was just a little tweaked and damaged and fixed. Then that causes other issues where when the mouthpiece was being inserted into the lead pipe, it would play differently, inconsistently.
And so that other player you're mentioning, probably like myself, would come in and be like, well, there's something wrong with me, and you would listen to it and you would know.
I would, through periods of little checks, nonstop, I'll figure it out, and then once I dial it in, I can figure out and help them, and then show them where they need to be.
And this isn't so much to get you talking, although I appreciate the explanation, is that I think a lot of times we trombone players might practicing earnestly and sincerely, come to a place where the sound in our mind is not matching what's coming out the end of the bell, to have you there to be like, I can help you. Let's just talk about what you want to sound like. Yeah. I really appreciate you being here as a resource that's helping me on my artistic journey.
I'm going to thank you for being here. This is going to be part
Thanks for
one.
having
This is going fast.
That's
so
good.
I think we've got some more things we can talk about.
It's a good time.
But thanks.
All right,
Part
to be
one.
continued.
Yeah, man.